Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the one and only Schedule Engine Toolshed. As always, the Toolshed and all we do here designed to make your day, your job just a little bit easier. It brought to you by the incredible team at Schedule Engine. Go check them out. And as always, the wonderful people at Emerson Underwrite this, make this possible. Couldn't do it without them. Check them out. They've got all kinds of tools to make your day easier. So pretty pumped about today. Pretty pumped. Today's a special day in the Tool Shed. We've been telling you for a while that we have some friends, and they're finally starting to show up because, they're mostly Jerry's friends, but a few of them have agreed, and we're going to hang out today. Today is all about leadership. We talk a lot about it, and my guest, Julian from Nexstar, is easily one of the industry experts, and we're so glad you're here. We appreciate you being here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell folks.
I'm Julian Scadden with Nexstar Network. I have the current privilege of being the president and CEO. I started there as a coach, as a trainer, as the VP, but I really got into this industry digging ditches. So that's who I am, man. I'm the ditch digger, I'm the apprentice, I'm the cleanup guy, and I'm here today. So thanks for having me.
This is great. So this is kind of why I'm particularly excited to talk to you about leadership, because I know you're a reader, you've hung out with some incredible leaders, you work every day with leaders that are working to make the trades just the best it can be. And so as we think about that, and you think about your journey, so I started as a tech back when things were easy to work on,
right?
And you think about the journey you've taken, digging ditches as you stay, and what is like the thing that you've learned about leadership along that journey?
Well, thank you. One of the things that I've learned is that it's about self-leadership more than anything. That's the most difficult leadership. It's easy to manage. It's easy to tell others what to do. It's even easy to coach with the discipline, but self-leadership. And one of the things that I feel passionately about is something that we've been talking about at Nexstar for some time and working on our curriculum is its competencies and character.
Right on.
And that you need to have both. You know, many times we focus on the skills, and even at a younger age, I would think about that. What skill do I need to acquire? Where should I go? What certificate do I need? And that's part of it. That's truly part of it. But the other part of it is character. Yeah. And at least that's what I believe.
Yeah.
And I feel strongly that you can choose the culture that you work for. So as you think about leadership, if you want to follow, and I would call it like a sharp elbow type of leadership, where get out of my way, or I have to get my, familiar? Been there?
Ringing a bell.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I got a few scars too. But as long as you know what that is and you stay true to that, and the intentionality and the integrity of it, integrity meaning that your thoughts, words, and beliefs all align.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not ethics, it's not morals.
Right.
It's just that what I see is what I get. And if I can see those characters modeled every day, then I can choose to follow you. So I think it's those two things.
So a ton to unpack there. One of the things that Jerry and I talk a lot about on the Tool Shed is this idea of self-control. There's a ton in our life that we can't control, right? But we think of our sphere of control, as Covey calls it. What can we control? And this is really where you say it starts.
That's right.
Then you talk about, I think the industry has come through the decades where there was tons of labor, so command control industry, like that's how we were trained.
Yep.
And I'm not too. My idea of leadership, I wasn't trained, so I just did what I seen, and I may have thrown a few elbows.
Exactly.
This is Eddie 2.0.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Therapy's going well.
5.0 over here. So.
Well, that's why you're in that chair now. But talk to me about the power of self-leadership, because that's a great, we could probably park there for a while.
Yeah.
What does that mean, and why do you think people find that so hard?
Well, I think we should, and I think why it's so beautiful in our industry and relevant to the audience that we have the opportunity to speak to today is Youre Alone. Very few business models have their chief revenue producers out of sight. Think about that. From a business perspective, what's been entrusted in you as an individual, as a professional, that you have to earn every day. And what's the saying? It's not who you are in front of people, it's who you are when they're not looking.
Absolutely.
And that's why this self-leadership is so critical. And you wake up with it every day. It didn't just happen. It didn't care. Like, I have a choice every moment of how I'm going to carry myself.
So I love what you're saying here, because unlike most industries, we have this post-industrial revolution sort of working model where the boss is up there, the assembly line's down there, and he can see everybody. What you're talking about is just the reality that many of us face, which is where they're out we train people 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, depending if they have their own tools or not, right?
Give them a truck at our life savings
Right.
and a vehicle and send them off.
No liability there. And then, we read the reviews.
Yep.
And so this idea of, and is this why you think that character is as important as competence?
Exactly. For the same reasons why when I was leading a business, I got a phone call. We were in Atlanta and I got a phone call from Alabama that one of our technicians was found under a bridge in the rain smoking methamphetamine in the back of our truck, and it's branded. That's what I'm talking about. So now that's one extreme. But the other extreme is guys like Louis Fecto, who's out there in Atlanta, and he was a pure leader. Every day he would show up, he'd read every manual, and it's like he did things in his spare time that you did not have to do.
Right.
But he became a leader without a title, and it started with self-leadership.
So I love that. And again, huge Covey guy, and he talks about the two kinds of leadership: the appointed, which you have the title, and it's on an org chart and it's clear. But then there's moral leadership, which is where you're just a leader. People see it in you; it's innate. You develop it, and that part of leadership that I think once you understand that there is a self part to that, you can be that person. Now, with this idea of character, you talk about. There's a lot being said about leadership this, and there's, go to a bookstore, there's entire walls of it. Yeah. But you really make it sound simple, which I like, which is that old expression, integrity is what you do when no one's looking, right? Okay. And why do you think that's so important? And do you think that could potentially be an edge in this sort of skilled labor gap where people are looking for good places to work?
I love that angle. I do want to also mention, being a Covey fan myself, the public victory versus the private victory. And I do think it's the edge. I do think it's the edge because, right now I just interviewed 3 different folks last week, and there's this guy who has all the attributes. He grinds hard, he works hard, he asks for extra credit, and that's that private victory. He's doing the work. And the others show up and they look clean, and in public they're shaking hands and looking good. Yeah. But this guy is putting in the work behind the scenes. So yes, it's a differentiator for sure.
He's got that X factor. And listen, those other people will probably have a job, but Jerry says, when you work on the stuff that makes the job easier, you'll have a great career. But when you work on that private victory, right, that's where the hard work is done. You'll have a great life because
he's pretty smart.
That's why you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, right? He keeps telling me. So I just need to find 4 other friends and I'm good. But we'll probably do a bunch of these if it's okay with you. We'll talk more because I can tell you've got a lot of passion in and around leadership. Yeah. If you we've talked about the private victory. We've talked about focusing on what you control. This idea of self-leadership. This idea of hiring for character. If you had one lesson. Yes. To share one piece of advice, if there's someone that's just an individual contributor in a truck, yes, or there's someone that's leading an organization of hundreds, what would you say is the one non-negotiable or the one piece of advice? Or
I would just offer identify your values. And once you identify your values, just stay true to them. It's really that basic. It sounds that simple, but it's one of the most difficult things in the world to wake up every day, identify your values in every moment, in every interaction. And by treating this person with the standard that I've set, and then model it, and life will work out for you.
Model it. I love what you're saying, and we talk about the skilled labor gap, the idea that we're all competing, we're all fishing in the same pond, right? There's only so many. Right. We talk a lot about creating our own. But do you believe leaders that walk the walk have an advantage at the recruitment table versus people that have a good business, but really there's none of that soul or integrity that you're talking about?
Well, we've seen that, and you alluded to this earlier, that we're very fortunate at Nexstar. We are a membership of over 900 businesses. Wow. So sometimes when I speak from authority, part of it's experience, and part of it is being able to witness this case study that is 900 different businesses. And yes, there are some owners of businesses that I tell them, you should not be the recruiter. You probably shouldn't be talking to the recruits. You should hire somebody who's gifted in that. Right. And so just identify your limitations. And yes, I do see a difference in those. Same thing though, if somebody models a very greedy behavior, but if they embody that and I know what I'm dealing with, I can work with that.
Sure, right.
So just be authentic to what you are, but I would encourage, of course, that reflection, that value identification, and then the alignment and embodiment of it.
Love it. Yeah. There's the old saying, as the head goes, the body follows, and it's one of the things that makes leadership so important. We could talk all day, but I know we're gonna have more of these conversations. My friend Julian, dropping nuggets from, I love the way you call it, like this study group of 900 organizations, a very unique perspective, perhaps one of the most unique in all of the industry. So grateful you're here. I want to give a big encouragement, come back, listen to these conversations. It's in your control. We're so grateful that you've chosen to work on this time, the self private victories, and we're grateful you're here. We're incredibly grateful to the team at Schedule Engine, and of course, couldn't do it without all of the people at Emerson rooting for us and making this possible. We will be back in the shed next time. We hope you come. The place you make every job just a scooch easier, and we're rooting for you and hope you have a great day. Come back soon.